In this video, I'm asking, why bother? Why bother making stories when AI can just do it for you now? Because I get asked this question all the time. The question is valid, in essence. AI can write stories for you, and it's good at it. But it's a question that proves to me that we do not understand creativity at all. We don't see the value of making to be anything more than the final made thing. When we don't value something as a society, we don't work to develop it in our children. The anxiety, the avoidance, the crippling self-consciousness that children are displaying around creative tasks these days should be an alarm bell, particularly for an AI future where they need creativity above all things. Storymakers is a basic, actionable, everyday framework for creative development. We don't teach kids how to spell, how to paint, or even how to write storybooks. Teachers are already doing all this. We are learning why to make stories. We are learning why to bother.
My Story Makers!
What's at stake? The world is fundamentally changing. Breakthroughs, particularly in generative AI, are reshaping industries and tasks across all sectors. We can no longer count on a learn this to become this way of preparing our children for the working world. They need to be flexible to succeed now. The World Economic Forum sets out that while understanding AI and big data are on the list of useful skills at number 11, creative thinking is at number 4. And when you look at what creativity actually is, you could argue that it's also at numbers 1, 2, 5, 7, and 8, given that these are analytical thinking, resilience, flexibility, motivation and self-awareness, empathy, curiosity, and lifelong learning, which are all hallmarks of creativity. And it's one of the few things that AI won't do. The yellowy brown here represents AI being able to replace a human in performing a given skill. But not just this. The research is compelling. Creativity boosts self-confidence, explores identity, builds resilience, and provides a sense of mastery. It boosts motivation to learn, and to sum up, it makes you happier. This is what is at stake if we do not support creative development in our children. The problem is we don't actually know what creativity is, or at least our understanding is based on some deeply held misconceptions about what it is to be creative. Like the belief that to be creative, we have to be good at drawing, for example. These have resulted in a "it's not for me" attitude. And this attitude means we don't work to develop our creativity or take action to help our children develop theirs, because it feels out of reach. No wonder we ask why bother when we feel this way. Why would we do something that makes us feel uncomfortable or inferior? But the truth is, creativity is available to all of us. It is an inherent trait that has allowed humans to thrive for thousands of years in an uncertain world. It's not just some touchy-feely, arty thing to do. In fact, creativity can be highly logical and analytical. We all exhibit examples of creativity every single day. Conversation itself is a creative act. Yeah, some people have access to their creativity more than others, and many have the ability to channel a particular skill, like drawing well, to make things we value. But just because there are better footballers out there, we don't stop enjoying football. Because there are better mathematicians out there, we don't stop using maths. Our biggest barrier to accessing our creativity is not lack of skill, ability, or genetics, but lack of creative confidence. We have not had the opportunities to understand or develop our creativity properly. And nothing can grow and strengthen without exposure. And we can't become less fearful by avoiding them. Often the things we find most tricky are the exact things that do the strengthening that we need. And in creativity's case, this means making, and in particular, making stories. The question of generative AI. Most children's first introduction to AI is through stories. We play with putting prompts into ChatGPT or similar LLMs, and out comes a brand new original story. When undertaken with an adult, this can be a playful form of engagement, and it is teaching. It can help a child learn the fundamentals of storytelling, like plot and character. AI can expand our ideas of what is possible and increase what can be achieved without the restrictions of limited or yet to develop skills and ability. But using AI in this input-only way is not making. Something's been made, yeah, but the process has been removed, and hence why it felt so easy. But making is at the heart of creativity. What we at Storymakers like to call make to know. So we make to know how to problem solve, how to be meaningful, how we feel about something, what we think and what that means to us. We also make to know how to even start sometimes. Creativity is rarely an ideas first situation. When we make, we are learning to push through that uncertainty, to improvise, to take a risk, and to struggle with it, and to experience failure sometimes. Resilience is knowing that mistakes are just part of the process and in fact help us towards our understanding. There's a good way to test whether using generative AI is making or not. Get your child to make something, a story, or perhaps some artwork with AI, then ask them who made it. They'll likely be confused about how they feel. They'll know they were involved and that the thing wouldn't have been made without them. But did they make it? This confusion is because making and knowing are things we feel, without necessarily understanding. You might say, I felt I knew her face from somewhere, or I just knew something didn't feel right about that place. The transformation we go through when we make fundamentally changes us. It has changed the very makeup of our brains. If we hand our children tools like AI to make the making process easier, we are taking away this early opportunity to forge the fundamental neural pathways. Knowing is resilience. We cannot be told what we are capable of by others. We need to know it, to feel it, to experience it in ourselves. By practicing making when we're young, we are not training to become artists or creatives. We are actually building the tools by which to master anything and everything for the rest of our lives. How should we use AI to support creative development? AI will lead to greater creative discovery and innovation, for sure. But discoveries like these rely on a quality that often goes unmeasured in productivity metrics, creativity. While AI undoubtedly streamlines processes and accelerates data analysis, it is the human ability to think beyond conventional boundaries, adapt dynamically, and generate novel ideas that allows AI to reach its highest potential. Our education system is a prime example of creativity being overlooked due to productivity metrics. The national curriculum is largely designed around measurable academic tests and benchmarks so that the data can be compared to determine whether a school is doing well or not, supposedly. Because creativity is trickier to measure, it's not prioritised when time and funding are cut. Schools are under so much pressure to tick all the academic boxes, there's no room left for the flexibility and the autonomy that creative development demands. But we know that flourishing comes when we balance academic development with creative development. All the research on the subject will tell you this. So, answers with questions, facts with making, the known with the unknown. This is where we get true learning for life. I've seen firsthand schools do this beautifully, despite all the pressures, but it should be all schools. Almost 1 in 5, that's 18% of teachers, report spending no time at all teaching art in an average week. And entries for art subjects at GCSE have gone down 48% since 2010. This will all be compounded if schools then start to use AI as a tool to bolster academic results, but overlook the consequences for creative development. In order to be able to use AI in a creativity-informed way, we must first know what creativity is, because most of us don't. We must know what creative development actually needs, and I deep dive into all this in my next video. But the point is that schools perform a vital role as anchors of our community and society. When our education system doesn't demonstrate value in creativity, it shapes our perception of ourselves. This is about messaging and attitude. We should be working to break down the misconceptions around creativity, not reinforcing them. I go into all these misconceptions in my next video on the barriers to creative potential. But we should be noticing when a particular child is struggling with their creative confidence and take action to give them the necessary support. In the same way as we currently do when we see a child struggling with their maths or with their phonics. Children need to have first developed their creativity enough to know how to use AI to help them and not to replace them. We need AI to be a cheerleader as our child navigates their own making process, like a tutor would. A good tutor questions your assumptions. They push you further. They motivate and inspire you, making suggestions and providing space and support for exploration. And they have a good grounding in their own creativity, whatever this is. Then children can use AI to augment their creative initiatives. How to support creative development at home. Another thing about the school setting is that, divergent thinking and autonomous learning can be really tricky in a classroom of 30 children, each with their own minds and their own bodies and their own creativity. The home, or outside of school, is time away from all the distractions and the conformity and control of school, where there are too many eyes watching over us and correcting our spelling, or, friends poking fun at our drawings. Children must have opportunities to practice their creativity every single day in order to develop it. If we were to think of the home environment as the time that children have to truly develop their creativity, what would we do? We'd make sure there was a distraction-free and expectation-free space available, somewhere with a few basic tools like pencils and paper, always available, that don't need to be set up, by an adult first. We'd prioritise creative development in our child's day, ensuring we have time for doing less rather than doing more. Fewer planned activities, less of our parental involvement and control, or the control that devices like TV exert over our children. And we try to model creative values, asking questions rather than giving answers, and doing some making ourselves now and then. This is what we want to do at Storymakers. Self-led challenges that children can take away to continue at home in their own time. Things that would be really tricky to do in the school environment, that allow children to play around, take creative risks, and experiment with their own ideas. We are not here to repeat all the hard work done in schools. This stuff is different. We're here to balance and support all that work, whilst also helping parents take this even further. This is why we provide coaching and webinars, because we know the power our attitudes have to influence and support our children. How to support creative development as a society. If we really want to hit the point home, then we need the data and the research to show the extent of the problem. Research and data on the links between anxiety and low creative confidence, the changes in creative confidence as we grow, and the impact of generative AI on creative development in children. We need to understand the impacts of not taking action. Currently, our focus is teaching children to use technology safely, avoiding harmful content and harmful people, and avoiding cheating. But we are not taking any measures to protect children's creativity. Maybe because this doesn't seem important to us compared to everything else, but most likely it's because we don't see the crisis for what it is. Why should our children bother making stories when AI can do it for them? Our children are absorbing our why bother attitudes at a time when creativity is critical. Their ability to access their own creativity will determine whether the new AI era becomes a period of discovery, fulfillment, and hope, or one of helplessness and inequality. When our children are young, they need to first experience and practice creativity in its most basic, most personal, most accessible sense, making. It is exercise for our creativity. Better yet, make stories. Stories are the most powerful, ancient, and accessible form of making in this way. We cannot hide away from what's to come, but we can educate our children and protect what's important. This doesn't mean avoiding generative AI with our children, but using it consciously and in full understanding and awareness of the risks. Just because something can do something for you or your children, this doesn't mean that it should. Not when the thing it's replacing is so fundamental to our human development. And as individuals, we need to ask some important questions. Not to guilt trip ourselves, we are all grappling with how to do this stuff, but to truly see where our values lie when it comes to creative development. Do I know what creativity is and is not? Our next video will help with this. Do I know what the barriers to creative potential are? I deep dive into these in my video after this. Do I want to do something about it? If so, My final video in this introductory series to story makers will take you through how. Please subscribe to my Story Makers channel for more creative development content, including all our daily challenge videos for kids, or click on my website link below to inquire about school clubs, coaching, and our online webinars.
My story